Welcome, everybody. I am Alejandro Iniesta. I am a CFA charter holder and Executive Director of CFA Society France. And I will be hosting this webinar together with Thomas Plunkett from CFA Society Ireland. Throughout this webinar, but I'm going to help wait until we can see the slides shown. The whole idea is to share a bit of information about the Quant Awards, the useful information about the Quant Awards, and then during the second part of this webinar, Frédéric Vrins, who's a professor at the Université Catholique de Louvain, and Alexandre Remiard, who was the third place winner last year, will share their experience both as a professor and a winner. And we will open the floor to all your questions. The questions can be asked throughout the webinar via the chat. So please feel free to write the questions as we go along the presentation, but we will answer them towards the end so that we have a better flow. So without further ado, I want to introduce what the Quant Award is, and the most important thing is for you to know that it's a competition organized by 7 different societies throughout Europe. It's an individual competition. It's not a team competition, so it's you students that actually participate. You don't need to be a CFA member or a CFA candidate. It's open to any university student. And the whole thing is to focus on original quant research. When we say research, please be wary. It hasn't got to be in-depth. It's all sorts of quant research. The most important thing is for you to remember that it's a short paper, 5 to 7 pages, excluding appendices, and it's more about the applications than the technique. So you don't need to go through a whole lot of explaining how or what you were using to get the results. It's more important to focus on the results. But Alexandre and Frédéric will share a little bit more about that with the practical cases. So regarding the timeline and the milestones, we are currently still on the registration and submission phase, the first phase. You have until the 31st of May to actually manifest your interest by registering. But once you have registered, you're only just at the start of the project. You need to send out the report before the 31st of August. Do not worry, we will send emails reminding you of these dates and where and how to send the research. But the first deadline, it's a hard deadline, is August 31st. So I'm hopeful that you will spend a nice summer preparing the papers. Once we get all these papers, what we do is that we anonymize them so that judges don't know who they're judging. We want to don't have any sort of country bias. I know that everyone hates France, so we are very careful hiding the French papers, especially, and not handing them to Belgian judges. And then once all the reports are anonymized, we'll also go through a process of normalization of the marks to level playing field. The best papers, once we get these anonymized and standardized results, are sent to a super judge to have do not have any further biases, and then this super judge selects the 3 best papers. The results will be announced hopefully at the beginning of November. The 3 winners will win 3 cash prizes of 3,000, 2,000, or 1,000. And they also earn the right to go to the Quant Award ceremony, which is organized at the winning country, which would mean that next year it will be held in Belgium, probably in Brussels. The travel cost and the housing cost are covered up to 500 euros per person. And I think that Alexandre and Frédéric can talk about the experience of the Quant Award ceremony and the beers and drinks that follow, which are really nice because we have representatives from all countries, and it's a very nice moment. Now, the submission and format. Let me be very clear. All of you are very brilliant students. You are able to process an amazing quantity of data and come with astonishing results. Nonetheless, I think that my experience tells us that some of you will not follow these very short and very easy instructions. I cannot stress this enough. Deadline is the 31st of August. All the reports have to be written in English. These two things normally are okay. The 5 to 7 pages long is not okay. We've received a PhD thesis when we were just asking for 5 to 7 pages long. And everyone asks, does this include appendices? No, it doesn't. 5 to 7 pages long without the appendices, okay? Please try to send a document where the cover page has only the title of the paper, but not your university nor your name, just the title of the paper. The reports should be sent in a PDF file, and it would be extremely useful if you indicate on the name of the file your candidate name, i.e., your name, and the university name. That would be really helpful. So once I've read these very amusing instructions, which I'm sure that some of you will not follow, I'm handing it over to Thomas so that he can go through the judging and then hand it over to Frederic and Alexandra for the open discussion.
Thank you very much, Alejandro. And just to briefly introduce myself, my name is Thomas Plunkett. I'm a board member for CFA Ireland, and I chair what's called the Develop Future Professionals Committee. So we're very much involved with outreach to the universities and encouraging investment management as a profession, the CFA designation as a qualification, and we promote both the Quant Awards across the 7 European countries and also the Research Challenge as well. Some of you may be familiar with that. I'm going to run through these slides quickly, and as Alejandro said, we will be taking questions as we go along and towards the end as well. So a few of these points might have been covered, but just to reiterate on the judging side of things, there is a judge from each of the 7 countries, from the 7 societies, not necessarily CFA members, but they are all industry experts or quant experts in their field. The reports are judged anonymously. So as we said, you put your name on the PDF file, but you don't put your name on the cover of the submission itself. A breakdown of how they are graded across 4 criteria, and it's a weighted average of these. So applicability and relevance is 30%, innovation 30%, accuracy and completeness 30%, and then presentation 10%. So just the formatting and how the paper looks as well. So there's marks that really should be picked up there as well. As Alejandro mentioned, the marks are normalized through a standardization process, with the 6 papers with the highest scores making it to the final. And a super judge will then determine the 3 winners to avoid biases. So 3 from 6 on that. And the super judge is selected by the society that won it the previous year as well. So it will be a super judge from Belgium for next year. So what do you get out of it? As Alejandro did touch on some of the prizes, but just to touch as well from a LinkedIn perspective, the digital badges that you see on the left-hand side for first, second and third, and that was the running order last year as well, with Belgium winning, Netherlands second and France on the podium in third. For those who submit a paper, you also get recognition, you also get your digital badge. And as you know, as you're building up your career and your profile on LinkedIn, building up your network, all of these things will help with that. To look at some of the past winners, as we said, Belgium won it last year with Victor's paper. Anouk was second, and Alexander, who is going to present now shortly to us and answer some questions, came third. And we see 2024 and 2023, France is prominent on the podium, but no victory. So Alejandro is hoping that there will be some very good submissions come through for 2026. Ireland last won it in 2022, so we're not making this slide, but we're hopeful again for 2026 with some good submissions, web registrations coming through so far from the Irish universities. For the topics themselves of what the winners prepared their paper on, as you can see, there are a diverse array of subject titles within the quantitative finance space. It literally is open to anything within quantitative finance. So whatever broad your interest is, or specific or niche your interest is as well. It is the competition for you to prepare a paper for submission. So, as we say, the first prize was won with enhancing portfolio's performance with ensemble machine learning models and dynamic thresholding. So, as I say, it'll be quite complex as well.
Just can I jump in, Thomas, on that one?
Sure.
It's a question we get a lot from students, and they seem to think that there is some sort of theme or title or area that would get them closer to winning. And our experience is not actually just the theme. It's actually not the theme. It's more about how what it brings to the table, if it's useful and if it's well presented. So you can see that there's, if you check further away, I mean, the papers that won in 2022 or 2021 and 2020, they were different still. So I would just like to afterwards start maybe with Frederick's experience on this. But let me state this once again. It's not the theme. It's more about what you bring to the table, a new angle, a new way to present this, and the fact that it's clear and easy and something that has a practical aspect to it, not the theme.
Thank you, Alejandro. So then the Quant Awards ceremony, and this will be hosted by the winning country. So we were in the Euronext building in Brussels earlier on this year for the presentation and ceremony. The trip and housing is covered for the winners, up to a fee of €500. And this gives you the opportunity to network and to showcase your talent. You'll be given the opportunity to present at this event, and this will be to a group of investment professionals across various industry within the host society. The Belgian ceremony also included the presentation of CFA certificates to the next generation of charter holders as well. So your presentation will be encouraging and them also as they progress on their careers. We touched on the visibility from a LinkedIn perspective. Any of this exposure is very important for your professional development. It builds out your network as you meet new people, and it gives you the confidence to excel within your new career. As we said, a competitive advantage for your first job. I know when I'm hiring people, I see CFA related activities on their CVs. It does give them a bump up the running order, the pecking order, as to the preferability of their experience and how you view that they will fit into your organization. From my side, that covers it out. As I said, the question Q&A is open. I'm going to hand it over to Frederic and Alexandra to discuss their experience from last year's competition. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Thomas. So let's start maybe with Alexandre. You were in the picture there, so proud holding your trophy. So would you mind sharing with the other students what was your experience like and what did you learn from the competition last year?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Alexandre. I'm a quantitative researcher today at Canopy Asset Management, and I'm also pursuing a PhD right now. So last year I was doing an apprenticeship, also as a quant researcher. And honestly, my experience with the competition was amazing. Like I really liked the part of the research. I was already in the field of quantitative research last year, but really, I think the Quant Award, the way it is structured, teaches you how to build a really good research, starting from the theoretical idea and ended up with practical application. So it teaches you how to write a research paper, and therefore it is a really, really good exercise, especially if you want to pursue a PhD afterwards. And I think also the good point is if you are able to be in the top 3, then you ended up meeting a lot of new people that come from Europe. and you discuss with different practitioners, you make relationship, and this is, I think, really precious also, considering the participation in the Quant Award. So I would highly recommend participating in this edition. Yeah, so pretty much really, really happy with the experience.
Another question, and that might be also the way to bring Frederick to the discussion. Did you get any help from your university professors, or did you do the research by yourself? How was your interaction with the university professors?
So first of all, for the students, for example, that do not have a subject, last year I found my subject while I was in class, discussing about a specific topic with our professor, and I ended up looking it a bit further to see it was on the Earth exponent for those who are curious, and I ended up looking a bit more on Google Scholar. So Google Scholar is a link where you can find related literature on a specific topic. So this is a great way if if you don't know what subject you could use, you can go to Google Scholar and tap and write something about a specific subject. So I ended up doing so, and then I read quite a lot of paper about that subject, and it gave me ideas to try to bring a bit of innovation into what was already done. So after that, I ended up writing a bit of my paper and already having some early results. And I decided to present those results to the same professor that introduced me last year to that topic to get another eye on my work and see if I was heading to the right direction. And I think it's great to have someone that can not do the work for you, obviously, but have another eye on what you did and if you are going into the right direction. It can be a professor or someone at your team. For example, last year, the head of Quant research at Canopy looked at what I did, and then you have some new discussions that arise and some new ideas then can be conveyed into your papers.
So, Frederick, would you mind sharing what your experience is or was? Because you've been actually, for the funny thing is at the time, CFA Society Belgium was not even participating in the awards, and you heard about the awards, and you contacted me to ask if one of your students could actually participate. So now that it's official and that you have a second winner, I think that your feedback about how the whole process is and how you interact with your students, it might be very useful.
Yeah, sure. So indeed, perhaps a few words about my background. So I'm a professor in quantitative finance and probability statistics. I am also doing research in the field, mainly credit risk, machine learning, and portfolio optimization. And perhaps something that is important is that I worked myself in the private sector before going back to academia, and it might explain perhaps that I have some concerns about how things are working in the industry and some another view, let's say not a pure an academic view, but also I pay a lot of attention to the real practical problems that you have in the industry. So perhaps it explains that it's a good fit also with my interest and why I wanted to get involved in the competition. Perhaps one word before on the thing that you mentioned about the ceremony. Indeed, it's a very nice event, so it would be good if you could be there. About the beers, I do not remember, to be honest, but I remember it was nice. But no, so I was just kidding, of course. Um, so yeah, about my experience. I think first that it's a really nice competition, and I encourage myself, the students I meet and who are more or less working in the field during their master thesis, for example, to participate because, of course, CFA is a very well-known brand, right? Everybody knows the label CFA in finance. So the fact that you have participated and hopefully one, CFA-related competition is something that will be extremely well perceived on your CV. That is clear. So in terms of added value, I think it's a no-brainer. By contrast, it's true that I think it's quite demanding if you want to stand a chance to effectively win, because, well, that's my perception. You need to understand that this work is quite different from the other type of work you may have done during your studies or in your job, because of the very specific format, 5 to 7 pages. So you need to be extremely clear and to the point, because you do not have time to explain everything. And at the same time, you have to demonstrate quite a few things, like, as Alejandro said, you need to be extremely clear that you bring some contributions. What are your contributions? What is the added value of what you have done compared to what is existing? You also have to demonstrate a practical interest. So if you are working on, I would say, I don't know, new estimation methods to compute quantize, okay, it might be good, but if you don't apply that to actual cases, I think there is a little chance that you will be selected, even though the work could be top in terms of technical details, right? But you really need a practical application. And it's also, so not only the format is challenging, but also the way you should frame your story is extremely important. And I think it's often underestimated by the candidates. You may have a super nice research, and still you may miss the award because of the way you frame your story. It needs to be, in my perception, Alessandro, you correct me if I'm wrong, but at least that's something that I pay a lot of attention to. It's the way you frame your story. You need to sell your research, and so you need to show what is the takeaway message, how it could be used, what could be the impact of what you have done. Not only just explain the technical details of the research you have done. And this is often a problem in this type of papers, because you see Quant awards, so the candidate thinks they have to demonstrate the mathematical aspects and put that at the forefront. While I think what matters is really what you do with that. Okay, so you may have no theoretical contribution, but just the analysis that you made and the fact that you bring together different parts is in itself a contribution, especially if it tackles an important problem in the industry.
I think, Frederick, that's a very valid point. Please be wary that the judges might not be experts in the field. They might have some basic knowledge, and of course, they're all quant professionals. But the way you actually present, it's more like a report, a 5 to 7. It's more like an article, something that you want to bring to the general public. So someone without a strong technical background should be able to understand the paper, should be able to understand the conclusions. And some judges actually commented on how clear the paper was. This is very important. So, and this is something that Alexandre also mentioned, that it's something that you do not normally learn when you're researching. You're not asked to do this exercise. And this is something that can be very useful, because this is something that will be expected from you when you actually work for the industry. Be able to explain your research to people that are actually not in research. It's not an academic exercise. So that's a very good point, Frederic, and I think that you nailed it. That might be the reason why your student did so well. One question: would you be able to ask a ChatGPT or any artificial intelligence to take a PhD thesis and ask it to do this 5 to 7 pages exercise? What is your feeling about that? And then we will maybe mention as well how we see the usage of artificial intelligence in the competition.
Yeah, that's a good point, because in fact, so as Alexandre mentioned, you have to interact with other people, right, to get their feedback, because you work on this topic probably for several months, even perhaps a bit more. And so you need an external eye to guide you to do the selection of what is important and what is not. So if you start from a master thesis or a PhD thesis, indeed, there is a huge work to filter out what you want to keep, right? And I think the role I played with my students is mainly there, right? So how to frame the story, what to keep, what not to keep. And I think, yeah, ChatGPT for sure could be very helpful for that. Of course, you have to use that with care. But for example, to try to identify what you should keep, how you should frame, what should you put as the main contribution, this type of interaction with AI could be extremely useful because we know it is extremely strong to summarize ideas, and this is basically the type of exercise you would like to do here. So yes, I think it could be a very good point to do that. Yes. And
Also, let's not forget that this is an English, well, the report has to be written in English. English is not the first tongue of many language of many of these students. So
Mhm.
we do encourage the usage of AI when it comes to editing. We disencourage the usage when it comes to doing the research. And Thomas, you might want to mention a little bit where we stand and what we can ask from students if we are doubtful about the usage of AI?
Yeah, thank you, Alejandro, and it's just following the same theme as Frederic and Alejandro have mentioned there. So, if there are doubts, we are per the rules entitled to question the validity of your research of the usage of AI on it. We can test if AI has been used within the papers themselves. Again, to progress in your career, AI is not going to be the be all and end all. You need to be able to prepare your own reports still, even though AI will be such a useful tool across the board. But from your own career progression side of things, I would strongly encourage you to think exactly as Alejandro did mention, and you use it for the presentation. There's 10% marks for presentation there. That should be where if you're not preparing that yourself, that you're utilizing AI to format and to ensure that the paper itself looks smooth. But from a content and research perspective, yeah, just to be careful, just to ensure you follow the rules of the competition, and indeed generally we're bound by the CFA code and standards, so we need to ensure that what we're presenting and what we're representing is true and factual. So.
And Alexandra, you were mentioning as well when we were preparing the call that you did use GitHub. So what was your usage of AI when you were doing this paper?
So last year I did use AI to pretty much, I think Frederic talked about the innovation of your paper. What does the paper brings to the table? And I think for that to be successful, you need to have already, you need to know what was already done, first of all. And AI and ChatGPT is good in terms of what you could do as a literature review. So it gives you what was done in the past for that specific subject. And then in your paper, you can compare and say, well, this was done in the past. Now, what I do now is different because, and I think it shows really why your paper is standing out. So AI from a literature review perspective and from a research to get the references is great. Then I think the bias would be that when you're using AI, you are the teacher, I would say. You are the one that should know what is the expected results. When you are asking AI for the interpretation, for example, of your results, I think it can really go wrong because AI doesn't really have the analytical skill that you should have. And then if you are, that's why I was saying that um, some of my teachers and my colleagues were looking at my work because I know they have the expected skills to be able to say, well, this is wrong, this is right. With AI, it is a gray area, I would say. So I would be cautious I would use it obviously for the editing. Also, you can give him some ideas and rewrite them into a very beautiful way for your presentation of your paper. But then I would not likely give him the results and try to fully write the paper, obviously. You can really clearly see when it is written by AI. So I think it's a tool and you should use it. But keep in mind that in this case, you are the one that should know what would be the expected result of AI.
Exactly. And you will not get the result of learning the whole process as well, which is
Yeah,
also the point.
exactly.
Well,
So
there was just one, Alexandre. There was one question that Ioannis asked about the papers, the previous papers, to see if there was a certain structure that was followed by the winners. There is no a certain structure, but I think that all the past winners shared that they were very clear when they were explaining the stuff, and that they were very coherent and consistent. Some people forget parts. We even had the case last year of a student. We thought that the report was incomplete because it was not well finished. So this is important more than the actual structure. But yes, definitely you can read the previous papers. They are available on the Quant Awards section at CFA Society France, and we also share the links whenever we communicate with universities. So you would be able to find the past papers, and you should read them to get an idea of what has won in the past. But you will see that they're very different from each other. So unfortunately, there's not a secret formula. But there is a certain clarity and the way that the papers are being written. And other two questions that we received as well, and I'm going to answer them. Actually, three. One is if we are going to share the slides, and the answer is yes. Second is how many candidates do we expect? This is a hard one because based on the number of registrations, it's always difficult to know exactly. But we spent last year we received 40 uh, papers, so I think that that would be the number between let's say 50 papers. We think that between 40 and 50 papers would be a good number, so it's a sizable number. And someone asked also if there were companies attending the official event. I'm guessing that means the ceremony, the Quant Awards ceremony. And the answer is that it depends on the country that is organizing the actual Quant Awards ceremony. We have had companies in the past. So definitely last year in Brussels, it was at Euronext. So people from Euronext were there. The year before, it was Robeco that was hosting the Quant Award ceremony, and a lot of executives from Robeco were there. But the actual recruiting is not happening. But for sure they will keep the names of the winners, and it's the quant teams that are there. So yeah, it's a good opportunity. That's for sure.
That's just
So,
maybe on Alejandro on that, as we're saying, the award ceremony event itself for networking with the industry professionals, with the quant professionals from, and there will be sponsor companies there that for this to meet the participants, but there won't be a specific stand or something like that. If you think that you're going to that won't be specifically recruiting there, but it is all about building your brand, building your network. At something along these lines. So, thank you.
exactly. There's also a question someone was asking, is it possible to consult with one university's professor? So it's not only possible, it's actually encouraged. I think that Frédéric and Alexandre said that the dialogue with the professor, especially when once the paper is written or the main ideas are there, helps to focus the actual paper. So this is definitely something which is very important. And there's also a question, is it possible to publish the paper later if a university professor helps us, just as if it was a doctoral paper? What do you think, Thomas?
We have seen some previous winners that have been published into financial journals, if that's what you're referring to. You may just need to consult with the professor as to the input they have. If it's your paper and you're just getting kind of review and help with it, but maybe just to clarify on that. But we have seen plenty of submissions and winners from this have been published in financial journals previously. Sorry,
So,
Frederica. Yep.
Frédéric?
Yeah, exactly. No, I just wanted to confirm. Huh? So indeed, for example, the paper of Mathieu Jonard. So I think it was in 2021 or 2022. So of course, it was we had to improve it, but indeed we published an improved version last year, I think. So it took a bit of time to to get the paper improved, but yes, it is possible. Uh, if I may, I would like to add perhaps two things. The first, perhaps for the other professors, if they want to assess whether the papers stand a chance. So usually when students come to me, because I talk about the award in my class, and I said, if you think that you if you feel like you want to try, of course you can, and I'm at your disposal if you want to have my opinion. Of course, they can submit it completely independently, right? So you don't need to have the stamp of a university approving your submission. You can do it in your own way. But I encourage the students to ask my opinion before. First, because as I said, I can help a little bit about the framing, the positioning of the paper, but also because I can also assess whether the level is sufficient based on my understanding of the ambition and the expectations of the competition. So the way I put the bar for me to assess whether the paper stand a chance is whether it is promising for a publication precisely. So if I think that the idea is sufficiently novel and sufficiently promising in order to be developed subsequently as a paper, then I think it's a go for the submission to the award, right? So this is the benchmark I am using to make a feedback to the student. And the last comment I would like to make about that, it's often surprising because the students have the feeling that it's impossible to succeed, right? It's an international competition. I'm in my master two. There will be other researchers. There will be um, French guys coming from the top engineering schools, and then of course I tell them, yeah, look, sometimes other people can win too. And yes, then they realize that it's feasible, that in the end someone has to win, and it's not necessarily the future Nobel Award who will get that, right? You need a good idea to explain carefully this good idea, and you have your chance if your contribution is substantial enough. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. You're mute. You're muted.
People that are actually, Frederic, aware that they do not understand everything and that they are not Nobel Prize winners are actually very intelligent people, because it's only stupid people that really think that they know everything about everything. So that's it. One very pragmatic thing I wanted to ask Alexandre is, how long did it take you to do the paper? How did you organize? How did you time it?
I think I started working on it earlier than when I was aware that there was a Quant award, because I was focusing on trying to enter a conference at that time. So I think I started working on that pretty much in February or early March, and then my paper was done in June, I think. So about 4 months in between the back and forth with the professor, with the feedback that I had at the specific conference. So about 4 months, 4 months of work.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think that if you start now, you still have a lot of time until August 31st. Again, remember it's that the deadline. Someone was asking if students get any feedback, even despite the fact that they may not win. And yes, we do ask judges to give some feedback, especially positive feedback of things that were worked well on the paper, and also areas that should need further improvement, so that any student that participates at least gets that sort of useful information. And there was also a question on the format. there's no specific formatting requirement other than the 5 to 7 pages long, excluding appendices. But you can maybe take a look at the past winners to see how they were structured. I think that in some cases it's very useful to use tables and graphs, although they do take a lot of space. In some cases, a lot of information can be condensed under visual form. And I think that sometimes students feel that they need to write a lot when they could also use images or graphs or tables to convey the same information. So if you take a look about past winners, we have shared the links in the chat, but we will also share the links in the presentation afterwards, so that you can have a clickable content. I think that that's good writing, how people structured and how people actually wrote. Even though when we say the clarity of a paper also means the spacing, the how you actually present the paper is very important too. So I think we covered a lot of ground. So we might have time for one last question if someone feels that they. So there's a last question, and then I can maybe Frederick, you can give it a try. If there's a limit to the topic that you can research. So is it possible to do a topic outside finance if quant methods are used? And this is a tricky one. But last year there was the number 2 winner was actually using the climate data, temperature data, to do a pricing based on temperature for temperature derivatives, and the usage of that was actually out of the finance world. But it is a quant awards is a finance competition, so even though you can use exogenous data, i.e. data that does not come from finance, there has to be some contribution to finance. So the answer is in mixed, but there has to be a link with quant finance but it can be understood in a very large phase. Do you want to say add anything, Federico, on the themes? How did you and your students come up with the ideas, or what's your experience on that?
So usually it comes from their master thesis, right? Because as I said, it's usually a substantial work, right? It's not something that you will do like this in a couple of days. As Alexandre said, it's a substantial work. And so usually it's when they realize that their master thesis is going well and that they have nice results and so on, that they start to think about turning their thesis into a short paper for the CFA Quant Award. In terms of teams, I confirm that there is no specific team. It could be extremely broad, and sometimes the financial application, even though it has to be there, it could be a small part of the paper. So if I go back on the well, for Victor, it's about portfolio optimization, so this is clear. But for Mathieu, it was about securitization, and so it was in fact an optimization problem, a discrete optimization problem. So the content is about that, and then we use this to actually to apply that to a problem of loan selection in securitization. But in the end, it's just an application of the optimization method that he has worked on. So you need a finance flavor, and it does not. It needs to be consistent and solid. But your contribution may not be on the financial part. Your contribution might be on the technical part, and then you apply that to solve a relevant problem in finance. That could work.
Completely. So I think that we are going to wrap it here. We covered a lot of different themes. We went across the format, some insider information from both a winner and someone that has been behind 2 winners. Hopefully, this was useful for you. As we said, we will share the presentation with all the useful links and the email where you can contact us with further questions. Thank you very much, Thomas, Alexandre, and Frederic, for your time. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully, we will see each other soon in person with or without beers. Uh, But thank you very much for your contribution for bringing this life to and giving the opportunity to so many quant students around Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Take care.
You,
Bye.
bye.